Today's reading is from Romans chapter 12, verses 1 through 12. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. For by the grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think with sober judgment, each according to the measure of faith that God has assigned. For as in one body we have many members, and the members do not all have the same function. So we, though many, are one body in Christ, and individually members one of another. Having gifts that differ according to the grace given to us, let us use them. If prophecy, in proportion to our faith; if service, in our serving; the one who teaches, in his teaching; the one who exhorts, in his exhortation; the one who contributes, in generosity; the one who leads, with zeal; the one who does acts of mercy, with cheerfulness. Let love be genuine. Abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not be slothful in zeal. Be fervent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in tribulation. Be constant in prayer. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. It's Confirmation Sunday. We celebrated the gift of baptism during our early service. How fitting it is during this late service we celebrate confirmation, which is all about baptism. These young students here will come before the Lord's altar, and they will confirm the faith into which they were baptized so many years ago. Life is filled with transitions. We're born, we're baptized, we go to school. There are confirmations, there are graduations. We get that first job. We get married. We have children. One day we retire. Then there are grandchildren that come along. And inevitably, all of us will make that one final transition. There'll be a funeral service where we transition from this life to the life that is to come. Time marches on. Life, it moves forward. Confirmation is a special day for me personally, because one of these students is my daughter, Abby. And it's hard to believe that it was 14 years ago that we brought her to the waters of holy baptism. 14 years ago. Not that long ago. In 3 weeks, I'm going to be traveling back to my hometown where I grew up. It's the 150th anniversary of the church that I was raised at. I've been honored to be asked to give the sermon for the school and confirmation reunion celebration. Now, I was looking back at the calendar, and it's hard to believe it was 31 years ago. On May 22nd, this coming Wednesday is May 22nd, 31 years ago that I was confirmed, more than 3 decades. The point in all of this is this: life is short. It moves quickly. And the longer you live, the more clear that becomes. For our confirmands here today, they've lived a little more than a decade. And a decade seems like almost a lifetime because, well, for them, it is. For those of us who've lived a bit longer, we realize that a decade is not that long. And some of you have lived longer than me, and a decade might seem even shorter than it does to me. So life is short. Second thing I want to share with you this morning. I used a golf analogy last week, so excuse me here, I'm going to use another golf analogy. A few years back, I was able to play Winged Foot Golf Club. Now, those of you who are golfers, you know exactly what that is and what that means. For those of you who are not golfers, you have no idea, no clue as to what that means. Well, let me tell you, Winged Foot is an exclusive club, golf club in Westchester County, New York. Rich and famous. You have to be very rich or very famous to be a member of this country club. Barack Obama, when he was president, he wanted to play the course, but they would not allow him. The members would not allow Barack Obama, the president of the United States, to play this course because he was not a member. That's how exclusive this place is. It's hosted a number of U.S. Opens. The interesting thing about Winged Foot is they don't have a driving range. Many golf courses, there's a driving range, a putting green, where you can go and practice and warm up before you begin your round. However, at Winged Foot, there is no driving range, so you go to the first tee. And there happened to be a former member back in the day, decades ago, long gone now. Every time he got to the tee, he would hit 2 golf balls. He considered his first tee shot to be his practice shot, and then he hit another one. He'd actually take the best shot of the 2. The name of this certain Winged Foot club member, his name was David Bernard Mulligan. Those 2 shots he took off the tee, that's where we get the term mulligan. In golf and in life, it refers to a do-over. It refers to a second chance. And while there are do-overs and shots at redemption within this life, when it comes to this one life that we live, we get one shot. We get one chance. There are no do-overs. There are no mulligans when it comes to life. So here's the thing. Life is short. We get one shot. And putting these 2 things together, we come to one conclusion, the same conclusion that Moses came to and is recorded for us in the book of Psalms, Psalm chapter 90. Here it says, teach us to number our days. Teach us to number our days rightly, so that we may gain the heart of wisdom. Help us, God, to order our plans, to order our days, to make the most of it, to get it right. Too many people at the end of their life, all they have is regret. They regret that they didn't make the most of this one short life. And they waited their whole life to live life rather than actually living it. This one life we live is made up of thousands upon thousands of daily choices. Few of those choices on their own determine the outcome of our life. But rather it is the consistency of those choices that we make day in, day out that will determine, will our life or will it not be significant? Will our life or will it not be meaningful? Will our life or will it not be satisfying? Will our life or will it not be honoring of God? Will our life or will it not fulfill the purpose for which it was created? And all of that starts with a choice. Joshua, who led the people, Moses led God's people out of Egypt. Joshua led God's people into the promised land that they were given. And at the end of Joshua's life, Joshua puts this proposal before the children of Israel. I want you to listen to these words and ponder these words. He says, fear the Lord. Serve him with sincerity and in faithfulness. Put away the gods your father served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. You see, their fathers had worshipped Baal. They had made the golden calf. And because of that, they were made to wander in the desert for 40 years and never arrived at the destination that God intended for them to arrive at. So Joshua was saying, there's a choice. You can be like them and never get to where God intended for you to go. Or you can make a different choice, a better choice here today. But if it's evil in your eyes, verse 15, to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your father served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land that you now dwell. But as for me, my family, my house, we will make the choice and we will serve the Lord. It's an important choice. And it was a choice that would determine the entire trajectory and the outcome for the children of Israel. And it's a choice that is put before you today, right here, right now. It's a choice that's put before these confirmation students. Choose this day whom you will serve. But confirmation is not limited to just one day of our life. We confirm what is important. We confirm what we believe. We confirm the God that we serve day in, day out, through the words that we speak, the decisions that we make, the things that we do. I saw this meme. Right, Abby? It's a meme, right? It's a little argument we have at home. I call it a meme. She calls it a meme. Actually, I think it's really a meme. But read this. I find it fascinating that most people plan their vacations better than they plan their lives. Perhaps it's because escape is easier than change. Think about that. How much effort you put into preparing and planning for a vacation this summer compared to the planning and the choices that you make for your life as a whole. And we can use this not just for this life that we live here, but also our eternity. More people spend their time planning their vacation than they do thinking about their eternal destination and the eternal destination that they're destined for by the way that they are living and the way, things that they're believing right now. When you start a journey, when you're going somewhere, you make a conscious choice as to where you are going. And the decision that you make in terms of the destination, that determines all of the other choices that you make. The roads that you take, the turns that you make. If you set out without a destination in mind, it's very likely you're going to end up at an unintended destination. An unhappy marriage, an unfulfilling career, bad health, or all of the above. So what's Joshua say? Choose where you're going. Choose this day whom you will serve. Choose as to what you will give your life. It was read earlier, Romans chapter 1. Paul says this, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercy of God, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual act of worship. With every choice you make, there is a sacrifice. Think about that. With every choice you make, there is a cost to that decision. In the Old Testament, when animals were brought to the temple, they were slaughtered and then burned upon the altar as a sacrifice. What was lost? The cost, the value of that animal. That animal gave that life. What was more, the future use of that animal was also sacrificed and given up. There was a cost to sacrificing that animal, but at the same time, there was a return. There was a reason that that animal was given as a sacrifice, and that was for the forgiveness of sins. To what will you sacrifice your life, and what are the costs of your choices? The word passion. We use the word passion a lot. We often use passion in regards to things that get us excited. We're passionate about our football team. Or maybe not. Some of us are passionate about skiing, or we're passionate about fishing, passionate about golf. But there's more depth to this word passion than just simply meaning the things that we're excited about. Think about the passion of Christ. Certainly, Jesus was not excited about dying upon the cross. Rather, the passion of the Christ, referring to Jesus' suffering and death upon the cross. Why did he do that? Because of something greater. Because of his love for you. Because of his desire to redeem you and bring you back into God's family. And it was truly that passion that led him to sacrifice his life upon the cross. To what are you willing to sacrifice? To what are you willing to give your life? To get the promotion at work, you may sacrifice extra hours of leisure time to work more hours. Or you may make the opposite decision and sacrifice income, sacrifice the promotion at work in order to live a quieter, more satisfying life and to make more time with your family. Life is filled with those trade-offs. Life is filled with those sacrifices. Don't say something is your passion that you're not willing to sacrifice for. The next verse. Here it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing, and I point out that word, testing, you may be able to discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. It says, do not be conformed to this world. We live in a world that does not worship or serve God. We live in a world that serves self-interest. It says, do not be conformed. Our nation is often described as a consumer nation. And you think about what that means. We're exploited. We're exploited as consumers. We are told what to value. We are told what is important. We are told what is good. We are told what we should strive after in life. And the thing is, if you don't go back to Joshua and choose this day whom you will serve, if you don't choose for yourself, with the wisdom of God, by the help of the Holy Spirit, if you don't choose what is important, then what is important and what you are to value, that will be chosen for you. It's not for a celebrity to tell you. It's not even for your parents to tell you. It's not for a pastor to tell you. It's not for your friends at school or your coworkers at work to tell you. It's for you to choose this day what is important, to choose this day whom you will serve. And then it says you can test the spirits, that you will know what is truly important. You will know what is good. You will know what it is to value, not because anyone else told you, but because God told you. One of the most important words we can learn in our English vocabulary, it's the word no. A lot of kids, that's the first word we learn, right? But it's a word that is so important, because not everything that we're told is important. Not everything we're told is true. Not everything that we're told is good is good. Living a life of significance, living a life that honors God, it means saying no to all the rest. We have more tools of technology, more information, more things at our disposal than ever before at any point in time in history. But rather than making our lives better, rather than making our lives more convenient and more satisfying, often all of these things that we have, that generations before us did not have, they simply make our lives more busy, more complicated, more distracted. We end up being busy going nowhere. We try to do it all. We try to have it all. No doubt you've had one of those days where you were busy all day, and at the end of the day you got done and you thought and you wondered to yourself, what did I really do today? Why does that happen? It's because we don't have the filter to make the best choices, to make the right choices, and to know what is important, to know who we serve, to know who we worship, to know who we follow. And the thing is when it comes to saying no, remember this campaign in the 80s and 90s? Just say no to drugs. When it comes to living that life of significance, when it comes to living a life that honors God, it's about more than just saying we need to say no to the bad things that are obviously bad for us, like drugs. Say no to drugs, kids. But in our modern world, it's often saying no to things that might be good, but they're not great. We live in this world where I learned this new word. I just heard this. Maybe some of you have heard this before. FOMO. Have you heard that word, kids? FOMO. It means fear of missing out. It's a form of social anxiety, a compulsive concern that one might miss an opportunity or a satisfying event often aroused by posts seen on social media websites. Some of you, maybe you couldn't turn your phone off for this hour. And you had to check Facebook. You couldn't turn it off for just an hour because you had a fear of missing out. Apple releases that new iPhone. And it's got not 2 cameras, it's got 4 cameras. 4 must be better than 2, and I got to have that new phone that has the 4 cameras now. Fear of missing out. Or maybe it's that TV show, American Idol, and you got to know who's going to win American Idol. You can't, your life, you're told that if you don't know who wins, then your life is not going to be as significant or meaningful. But guess what? If you don't know who wins American Idol, your life's not going to be changed all that much. In fact, I don't think it's going to be changed at all. Fear of missing out, though. It's used against us every day to steal our time, our attention, our energy. And the best way to beat FOMO, you know what it is? Choose. Make the choice today before you are told what is and should be important for you. The last thing I want to leave you with is the will of God. We're called to live out the will of God. God has called us not just to be, He has called us to be. In our baptism, He calls us to be His children, not because of what we do, but because of who He made us to be. At the same time, we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works which He prepared in advance for us to do. God created you for a purpose. God created you for a reason. He put you here, and He does not make mistakes. But I shared with you, we are a nation of consumers. We consume TV, we consume food, we consume social media, we consume music, we consume books. We even approach church as something we consume. And what I mean by this is we simply observe. And we don't play, we don't participate. We just simply watch others live life. Strive not to be a consumer, but to be a contributor, to be a participant, to be a creator. We passively receive and watch others to live their lives and their dreams, all the while it passes us by. There's only a few of us who make the music. There's only a few of us who write the books. There's only a few of us that make the movies. Why is it only a few? Because everybody else has all of the excuses. I can't do it. I don't have the gifts. But what does God say? Gifts differing. You don't have the same gifts as anyone else. You have different gifts, but you have gifts given to you. He says, let us use them. Use the gifts that you have been given. If it's prophecy, use that. If it's faith, use that. Another excuse. I'm too young. I'm too young. But what did Paul say to Timothy? He said this, don't let anyone despise you for your youth, but set for the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. I've seen some students decades more mature than people generations older than them. But they're more mature oftentimes, sometimes, in faith. Sometimes the excuse is I'm too old, right? Think about Moses. When Moses led the people of Israel out of Egypt, you know how old he was? 80 years old. And he led the people of Israel for another 40 years to the brink, to the edge of the promised land. So, if you need an excuse, any excuse will do. But recognize God, for all those excuses you have, God has the answers. And they're found in His Word. And it starts from a consumer to a contributor, participant, creator. It starts with a choice. I will serve the Lord. I'll get off my couch. I will turn off the TV. I will confirm my faith. I will live my faith. The first step to getting somewhere is to decide that you're not going to stay where you are. Too many people think they are a victim of their circumstances, and they fail to understand the power of choice that they have to not be conformed to the world and everything the world tells them that is important. Today is a new day. You only die once, but you live life every single day. You only die once, but you live fresh and new each and every day. Every day is a chance to make a new start. Maybe yesterday, the choice you made got you off the path. But that's okay. That's okay because guess what? Today is a new day. And guess what? Tomorrow, you may fall off the path. But that's okay. There's a day after that to get back on. You can always come back because there's this thing called the cross. It's the cross of Jesus. It's all about second chances. It's the cross of Jesus that gives us a new start. And it's the cross of Jesus that gives us the power to choose this day whom we will serve. So students, you ready to make your choice? You ready to stand before this congregation to confirm the faith into which you are baptized, and the God you will follow, and the God you will serve with your life? I invite you to come forward.